Over 1,000 years ago, 10 days after the start of the new Arabic year, in the early hours of the afternoon on a sand dune at Karbala, south of the current Iraqi capital, a convoy of men, women, and children was savagely massacred, and over 100 were killed by an army of over 30,000. It took the monstrous military force little more than 4 hours to completely and utterly annihilate the small group led by Imam Hussain. Though mythically defiant, Hussain and his companions faced a callous slaughter by a sadistic army. All of the men were killed, as well as a dozen children and infants. Even the infants were not spared. The remaining women and children were then taken into custody. The caravan, along with the severed heads of the martyrs, was paraded around the nation in a humiliating spectacle amidst demented festivities and celebrations, and then everything was over. Everything. Fast forward to today, and over 1.5 billion people around the world come to a standstill on Ashura. A solemn commemoration of the single most tragic event is observed as a public holiday from India to Egypt, from Azerbaijan to Yemen, from Iran to Bahrain, and by communities in every province and capital in the world. In Europe and North America, millions observe Ashura, with gatherings as well as processions distinct with their public outpour of emotion. The passing of a millennium since the day of Ashura has not soothed the pain, nor has it dissipated its inspiring message. To a quarter of the world's population, it is a legend so powerful, it is truly larger than life. So while you may not have heard of Hussain, let us not forget that Jesus remained largely obscure for over a century. Yet today, the vast majority of people in the world set their calendars to the date of his birth. And just like Jesus, the day has come for the name of Hussain to be recognized the world over. And that's because he carried the passions and pains and defended the values and ideals of every prophet and every divinely inspired messenger. Hussain carried their flag and suffered on their behalf pain that was unimaginable. Hussain fought with and was brutally massacred by a vile tyrant whose bloodlust was unparalleled. Hussain was killed because he refused to give in to slavery and oppression. He was killed because he defended divine values of justice and mercy and to prevent evil and oppression. Yes, he was killed while thirsty, then decapitated. His body was looted, then crushed under the hooves of enemy horses. They even left his remains to be consumed by vultures and wild beasts. His tomb in Iraq was attacked and demolished numerous times by successive tyrants. To this day, visitors to his shrine are targeted and even killed, yet Hussain has always prevailed. Everyone shall perish and turn into dust and ashes, but Hussain will forever be the spring of life. The martyrdom of Hussain and his companions turned them into the primordial heroes of justice, epitomizing virtues of faith, purity, generosity, and bravery. As for their enemies, they became symbolic of every evil, falsehood, and vice. Hussain is a man who faced death so that humanity learns the true meaning of life. A man who was killed once but continues to be resurrected back to life 1,000,000 times over. One who was slain in utter loneliness, but who has legions rising every year to answer his call. He was thirsty only to have the world remember him when they drink in his name. A man who was shown utter hatred only to turn into the pulsating star of compassion and mercy. One whose light they try to extinguish only to become a flame that forever inspires those seeking a blaze in the darkness. A man who died whilst hungry, yet hundreds of millions are fed in his honor. A man whose tents were ransacked and burnt down, but has countless homes that bear his name, and every single day welcome the tired, the poor, and the wretched. Hussain is the spring of life. Hussain is life itself.